Okay, everybody, please rise for their flag salute, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. I'd like to do the roll call, please. Claudia?
Yes, here, sorry.
Alan?
Here.
John?
Here.
Tracy Ellen?
Here.
Doug?
Listening
Here.
to the board education meeting,
Barbara?
so if you want to talk to you.
Stephanie? Stephanie?
Here.
Joe?
Here.
And Al?
Here.
Ladies and gentlemen, the New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies in which any business affecting their interest is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provision of this act, the Riverdale Regional Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be publicized by having a date, time, and place thereof sent to the Record, the Ridgewood News, and the Town News newspapers, the constituent borough clerks and borough libraries, as well as posting in the school district's principal's offices, faculty rooms, and board office. According to New Jersey Public Law 2001, Chapter 226, the smoking or use of any tobacco product is strictly prohibited anywhere in public school buildings or anywhere in school grounds, including but not limited to the parking lots, grassy areas, and athletic fields. Violators will be subject to a fine not to exceed $100.
This is Stephanie, and I'm reading the mission statement. The mission of the Riverdale Regional School District is to provide a safe, student-centered environment in which each student is valued and respected, to challenge each student to reach his, her, their potential, to nurture every student's intellectual, social, physical, and emotional growth, to promote a healthy work ethic, a passion for learning, and a respect for oneself and others, to develop responsible citizens for our diverse community and an ever-changing world, to continue to involve our community in an active partnership, to provide all students the opportunity to achieve and exceed the New Jersey student learning standards and the New Jersey core curriculum content standards.
Thank you, Stephanie. Okay, Patrick, might as well get into your reopening presentation.
Good evening, everyone. I'm sorry, now you can hear me. My name is Patrick Fletcher, Superintendent of Schools. We have quite a few people on the line. I think there's almost 300 people attending the meeting this evening. So I thank you all for coming on board. I'm sure it's all relevant or related to the conversation regarding the reopening of schools. And I sent a notice out to the community today that I would be speaking to the board this evening about having a delay of the opening until October 5th. There are two major reasons for this. There are two reasons for it. One of which is less significant than the other. However, I feel it's important to mention, and that is that there is some small pieces of personal protective equipment that are not on site. Most specifically are desk shields. The other items that we had begun ordering back in April, quite frankly, are here: sanitizer, face shields, gloves, masks, things of that nature. But the most significant issue at this point is to be able to provide a safe environment that allows us to continue to socially distance students who are coming into the building. There are 3 silos of students that we're dealing with. The first is that we have a number of students that have elected to come in person. And coming in person, we are unable to accommodate all of those students. So we are set up for receiving kids at a 50% capacity, which means that we divided the alphabet into 2, and or in half, shall we say, and some students will attend on a Monday, and some students will be virtual on a Tuesday, and then the reverse will be true on Tuesday. Those students that were in person would be at a virtual. Then there would be a virtual day in the middle on Wednesday, and then we would repeat the process on Thursday and Friday for the afternoon sessions. At this point where we stand right here, and we move the meeting up from August 31st, which was scheduled for Monday, to today to provide the opportunity, should the board accept my recommendation, just to provide as much as any extra notice as possible to the community. I am not, I wish I was not in this situation to be able to make this, but unfortunately it's my responsibility as the superintendent to evaluate the system, or evaluate the system as it stands now, and then make a recommendation to the board. The most significant issue that we're dealing with is having enough adequate staff in the facility on any given day in order to provide for social distancing and to provide for safe student attendance. And at this point where we stand right now, I am unable to make that recommendation to the board because of a variety of different factors that we have to deal with our staff. We have members who have some medical conditions which would qualify them for a accommodation under Americans with Disabilities Act, and we have some staff members who have a limited accommodation under the federal First Corona Cares Act for childcare. The difference between opening now in September and in October, at this point, I believe we would be able to continue with providing the accommodations under ADA and dealing with that aspect of it, but I think we would be resolving the issues related to childcare that occurs with our staff members. So we would be reducing the pool of accommodations and increasing the number of opportunities for staff to be in the building and to have a opportunity to supervise the students safely and provide for social distancing. The situation is not a good one. I'm unhappy to be in this point of view. I've received a number of inquiries regarding this over the course of the day. I expect to have more over the course of the whatever is the result of this action this evening, or this vote this evening. And I'm sorry, there was some feedback in there, just threw me off for a second. And we would be, I think, in a better position to safely open the facility for the students if we were to delay until October 5th. That concludes my report. I know the board members will have some questions, and then I think what we would be doing, Mr. Graff, is to allow public to comment on this aspect of it, on this aspect of the agenda, and then pick up the agenda from that point on.
Okay. Does any board member have any further questions? Just to be transparent about this, we spoke for about an hour in executive session about the plan just put forth. So if any other board members have any questions, I guess we could address that at this point. And if not, we'll open it up to questions from the public. Couple of parameters I would like to set, if you don't mind. I would hope everyone could be respectful. Everybody has an opinion on this. Please respect everybody's opinion. We have quite a large attendance here tonight, so we do have to limit everybody to 3 minutes and let everybody get a chance before somebody might have a second question. And Mark is going to be taking care of the questions, I believe. So Mark, if you're ready. And please just state your name when you speak. Thank you very much.
There were a few written questions first. And let's see here. The first one is, can the students do virtual learning until October 5th?
Yeah, my recommendation is to implement a full virtual schedule Monday through Friday, essentially beginning September 8th through what would be October 2nd, Friday, and then restart in-person learning on October 5th.
The next
Mark.
question is from Gina Zenik. Has a decision been made?
No.
Busy, but you know, it was 17 or so restaurants. Everyone was doing it. Right?
Okay, so the first question from a raised hand is Kier Hallstatter. You can unmute yourself, please.
Good evening. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, thank you. Kier Hallstatter. I am the RDEA president, Riverdale Education Association. I am also a math teacher at the high school. That statement certainly evokes some questions. However, I have more of a statement that I'd like to make quickly. The popular decision is not always the correct decision, and this may apply tonight. I want to thank Mr. Fletcher for making a hard decision in recommending a limited virtual beginning to the school year. This is dichotomous for my members. We want to go back into our classrooms, and some members only left the building briefly. We have coaches, administrative assistants, custodians, building and ground staff who only left because they were forced to due to COVID. Unfortunately, we don't always get what we want. In this case, the limited virtual beginning will be a necessary short-term adjustment that will hopefully ensure Riverdale's long-term success. As the details of the virtual beginning get released, the members of the RDEA will immediately begin working towards making this virtual experience as strong as possible so it can serve as the bedrock for the rest of the year. And isn't that the point? While other schools will likely close their buildings due to COVID, just 2 cases it takes, our program and schedule can remain intact, providing stability for both students and parents alike. The Riverdale reopening plan, which was released a month ago today, since that time, as a staff member, I have received exactly 0 emails from administration providing me details of what is expected from me as a teacher at Riverdale. A limited virtual opening can rectify that, providing explanations and details to the countless questions of my members. The members of the RDEA are eager to help to work on a high-quality, in-person model that the parents and students of Riverdale have come to expect, and quite frankly, they deserve. This will not be the case if we open our buildings on September 8th. No one was ready or prepared for what happened in March. Shouldn't we take the time to be prepared now? In closing, I reiterate, the members of the RDEA want to be back in the buildings of Riverdale, teaching and working with our students. I see many of their names here. It kills me that I did not close the year with them. But unless and until we have details of a safe and effective in-person model, we simply can't do our jobs properly. We should not waste any more time. I urge the board to vote to conclude the school year under the limited virtual model proposed by Mr. Fletcher. Thank you very much.
Next would be Mrs. Kristen. Please unmute your mic.
Hi, thank you. I don't think I really have time in my 3 minutes to kind of respond to all that the president of the RDEA just stated, but it does strike me where he said to make the virtual learning as strong as possible. For me and for many other parents, that means 100% live instruction from the beginning of the regular school day until the end of the school day. Having said that, I just want to get to my question, which really pertains to the staffing issue. I'm not sure I understand how a delay of a month will help solve people's childcare needs. If they have the childcare need now, I would assume they're going to still have a childcare need at the beginning of October, unless you're planning to hire new staff. And if so, how many new staff members do you need to hire?
So forgive me, I think the question was what's going to be different between now and October 5th, and how many folks are we trying to deal with? What will be different between now and October 5th is that we will no longer have a moving target of things that we're trying to drive at. Unfortunately, decisions that are made here at Riverdale are not made in isolation. We are affected by what is going on in other school districts around the state, particularly the northern part of the state. And as other districts continue to modify their schedule, the matter of childcare becomes complex. The issue right now is that there's I think the New Jersey, the Star Ledger, NJ.com has indicated that there's about 100 to 110 districts that are delaying their opening. That number keeps moving day by day, but it can't move anymore once we get to a point where we're past Labor Day. So the first issue is that the whole problem will become clear. The second aspect of it is that we will be able to address those matters so that by the time that we get to October 5th, we've worked out a solution for all the people who are involved.
Mark?
We're addressing a technical issue with one of our board members' computers. Hang on a second, please.
If you have another question, Mark, please.
Gregory Darian, please speak.
Yes, thank you, board members. Thank you, Patrick, for your time. I just have a couple of quick questions regarding adequate staff. I'm curious to know how many faculty members are requesting leave under the FFCRA, how many are requesting leave under the FMLA, and in terms of numbers, you mentioned that some staff are dealing with childcare issues as their kids are going to school either in a hybrid model or a full remote model. How many teachers are being affected by childcare? So in summary, just I'd like to know, the number requesting leave under the FFCRA, the FMLA, and for childcare. Thank you.
Sure. At this point, and as I said, it's a moving target, we have 36 requests for addressing issues related to childcare and 28 requests under the combined Americans with Disabilities Act and family leave, which totals to be about 25 to 26% of the staff.
So the next written question was, can you use the ultraviolet machine in the classroom?
I'm not certain of what that's referring to, other than there appears to be a cleaning device that utilizes ultraviolet light to disinfect the air. As of right now, we are not utilizing ultraviolet lighting. We are, we've had our ventilation system looked at by our architect of record to make sure that we're in compliance with ASHRA, which is the standard that covers schools. And we are in certain areas where we've been able to put in some portable air purification systems that utilize the HEPA filter.
Next question is, how many full-time teachers in total in the district, and how many of those have requested accommodations under the ADA?
As I just indicated, there's 156 teachers, 28 have provided or asked for accommodations under ADA and the corresponding family leave.
Next question, can teachers still come into the building to work?
Yes.
Next is, has RDHS been in contact with the Ordeal Board of Health to evaluate opening protocols?
We have maintained open lines of communication with the boards of health in both River Edge and Ordeal, which operate under two different scenarios. We don't have a formal meeting, but I have participated in the both mayor's task force regarding corona or the COVID-19 virus.
Next question is, will the teachers be required to teach from the classrooms unless an accommodation is required?
Yes.
Next question is, how concerned are you that Group B will always follow Group A without being able to deep clean classrooms, given that Group A goes Monday and Thursday and Group B goes Tuesday and Friday?
It always remains an issue as to how consistent you can be with different groups that come in and out of the facility, but I don't have any more concern over an AA schedule versus an AB schedule at this point.
Next question is, what about the SAT administration date?
The Riverdale is offering the SAT thank you, September 23rd and October 3rd. And I'm just looking at my calendar to make sure that I give the right dates that are there. We are offering the SAT on September 26th. We're offering the ACT on October 3rd. The PSAT, which is essentially for juniors, I apologize, I don't have that date before me, but we are working with College Board to have a Riverdale only SAT administered on September 23rd. Those plans have not been finalized yet, but it appears that we'll be able to do that on a Wednesday so that Riverdale only students who are shut out from other places have the opportunity to take the SAT.
Next question is, does the MS and HS have enough bandwidth for all teachers to live stream in the buildings?
Yes.
Next question is, why is RDEA saying that the classrooms haven't been sanitized since March?
I don't believe that's what they said, because that's not an accurate statement, and I don't think that the RDA would knowingly make an inaccurate statement. We've been sanitizing the buildings continuously since we left on March 13th.
Next question is, it is very unclear how we will be in a position to open on October 5th and not having the same discussion a month from today. Can you explain exactly how we will be in a different position in a month?
We will, I guess the answer to that is simply we cannot be in the same position on October 5th that we are right now on August 27th. So under any circumstance, we can't be in a position where we extend a virtual setting unless there's an outside influence. And what I mean by that is an executive order in some way, shape, or form that closes the schools. We cannot be responsible at this point to have that happen. And I think we just heard or at least I heard the RDA president say that he will work with us to resolve the issues in order to make the matter move forward.
Next question is, what PPE equipment or preparation is already in place in the classrooms?
We have installed all the hand sanitizers in the locations throughout the buildings. We have, as I mentioned, some air purification in the nurses' offices. We have the social distancing signs up. We have a requirement that all people will be wearing masks. We're in a position of being able to provide face shields to staff members, and we are in some very limited numbers based upon the content area. We'll be able to provide some face shields to students. Excuse me, and the areas that we're deficient on at this point are the desk shields.
Hey, Mark, this is Joe. We actually have some people with hands up as well, just so you know.
I'm going to go to the raised hands real quick. I'll just take a moment. And let's see. Miss Kristen, you have another question, or did you not lower your hand?
I do have another question. I can't kind of get away from this childcare situation. So for teachers that are home now teaching remotely because they have childcare issues, how are they teaching my 3 children 100% live instruction the entire school day if they're diapering babies and taking care of their own kids' needs? That's one question. The other question is, have you explored other options, like if you don't have enough teachers to staff with half and half of the kids, have you thought of dividing the student population into thirds?
I believe that our staff will and have been committed to providing instruction to students since we went into the virtual world in March. What we learned during the course of that 3 months is the fact that we needed to up the game regarding the amount of live instruction that was taking place. So we have evaluated our system as well as our infrastructure. We've increased the bandwidth so that we would be in a position to be able to offer that live instruction. we have identified and will be working with our teachers on during professional development in the next couple of days, and then continuously through the process to identify minimums of live instruction, as well as standards to strive for. Because in the classroom, it's working virtually. If it is working well, you will also have the ability to utilize other aspects of our platform to have group work taking place, etc. The other thing that's occurred is that the Teams process, Microsoft Teams is the platform that we use for our video, has improved the capabilities since the springtime, and now we would have the ability to be able to see all students at the same time in their participation of the during the course of the year. I'm sorry, I'm turning my email off because it's making noise. I forgot the second, there was a second question. Oh,
Dividing the kids into a third.
yeah, we originally, thank you. Originally, we looked at that as an option of dividing kids into the third. At that point, we felt that 50% would be a better split. So we do have some other options that, of course, we're going to have to continue to evaluate based upon the parameters that have to become finite in the next week or so.
Lori Dunn is next.
Hello. So I just want to make a statement, but I actually, I want to explain and thank Patrick Fletcher, because he did something that I don't think any other superintendent has done in the area that parents really need to understand, because I have relatives in every school district in Bergen County. By opening up the childcare issue, he's preventing a situation which could be worse. So, for example, my daughter Kira, which maybe some of you have seen in the post with some kids, she's severely disabled, and she has really serious issues. I requested only one day for remote learning, and I've worked very hard all summer to secure people that are not going to make her sick. Just so you understand my situation as a teacher, I love these kids at Riverdale. I want to go back. I'm only asking for a little bit, and I don't care if I have to go back. I'll go back. But I'm actually defending Patrick right now in his decision. Trying to ameliorate a situation, because in the end, if I'm denied, I'm going on 12 weeks medical leave to take care of my daughter. I've already been on the phone with the Department of I have to take care of my child. She's high risk. But what he did was so forward thinking. And I just want to thank you, Mr. Fletcher. I'm sorry, I'm going to cry. And I'm going to close this now because I'm sorry.
Thank you, Lori. Mark, do you have something else?
Yes. Next question is, can you assure us that teachers will be teaching in a live stream to actively engage students?
Fucking bullshit.
I apologize, I was muted. Can I assure that that would happen? The answer is I could never provide 100% assurance that something like that would take place. However, as I've indicated, we have identified minimum standards for lessons for teachers to participate in a live component, and we've identified increasing standards so that teachers have the opportunity to continue to improve when they provide their services.
I'm sorry. Next question is, when did the discovery process begin about staffing and making the school ready for teaching during COVID?
The discovery process began when we made the recommendation to the board regarding the reopening plan in July 27th. However, as I've indicated, it continues to be a moving target. And as people may know, the process associated with dealing with the Americans with Disabilities Act is a submission of medical information, review by the school physician, and then an interactive meeting process in order to address the matter. So it's been ongoing for over a month. We're just taking care of some technical difficulties.
Next question is limited virtual experience. What does that mean? Will all the children have access to go into classes?
I apologize. I don't understand the reference to limited virtual experience. So I'll try to answer in the best way possible. The mechanism for participation will be through the Teams platform. Students who are in person will also, students who are in person, when we reopen, students who are virtual, be it because of the capacity limitations or because of the personal choice to stay virtual, will also be able to participate so that there's a common experience for students, regardless of their location.
The next question is, what are your plans for conducting fire drills and lockdowns, given that Governor Murphy hasn't exempted us?
I went through the training for school safety specialist and have attended the different webinars that have taken place since that exemption has not occurred. And the advice that we have is to practice a variety of different drills, and that we would be in a position to be able to to complete some tabletop drills to be able to address that matter. There still will have to be some live drills that take place where we move students in and out, but obviously that's going to have to be planned and coordinated during the course of the given time that we have people in the building.
Next question is, while on this call, it got dropped. How can we ensure this won't be a continuing issue while kids are online at home?
I believe that that's a mechanism related to this particular meeting, since we have the ability to handle 500 approximate people on here. And it could be related to, we don't have 500 people on here, so it could be related to outdoor service. I hear a storm has moved through the area that could have some disruption. And like anything, if there is an interruption during the course of a particular class or session, students would have the ability to log back in.
Next question is, what changes have been made since March to improve the learning experience?
We've had a variety of folks working during the summertime, volunteer basis, and there's been over 60 members of our teaching staff that have participated in a variety of different things that we've looked at, which include gaps in learning, include lesson planning, includes the virtual experience. We surveyed the staff at the end of the year, and they were very forthcoming and indicated where we could improve our process, and have been working with us to do so since the end of the school year, if you will, even though it was a virtual school year.
Next question, can teaching be from a classroom or a professional setting, not a bedroom?
That is one of the guidelines that we've provided to people as a minimum requirement, is to have a professional space, if you will, that's available to present the professional face as the teaching and the instruction takes place.
Excuse
Next
me,
question.
Mark. Excuse me 1 second. If anyone has a question, wants to ask a question live, there is a little hand icon. Just hit that little hand icon and Mark will see that you're waiting to ask a question. I see a couple of people sitting there raising their hands, or you can type in a question. Okay, thank you.
See the hand.
The hand's not there.
The hand is not there.
I don't see one, I'm sorry.
Some people may not have the icon depending on their device.
Oh, depending on the device? Okay. Well, type in your question then. Thank you.
I can't do that either from my iPhone.
Okay, Mark.
Next question is, what measures have been put in place to ensure that learning is actually happening in a remote environment as opposed to just assignments being pushed out?
That was one of the areas that our staff that worked with us over the summertime identified as problematic. So our staff's been cooperative of working with us. We've also designed a mechanism for supervisors to do virtual walkthroughs to be able to monitor the live streaming of lessons during the course of the given day.
Nancy Olson, please.
Thank you. I have like 3 comments and then a question. My first comment is, if they can play sports, they should be in school. It should be all or nothing. That's my first comment. My second is childcare. The essential workers during quarantine found childcare, and there's been in our town, I know of several parents who were both first responders that had to find childcare during quarantine. So I am not going to take that as an excuse. My question is, IEP students need in-person learning. My son lost like most of his year. I had to advocate for him. Out of his teachers, one reached out to him, one reached out to me, and the rest I had to reach out to because they were not responsive whatsoever. IEP students, what are you doing for them? They need to be one-on-one learning in the school. My son also goes to BOCES for, and they're open. Why are you not open? You had 3 months to plan. I'm really upset about this.
I don't know how to answer the question again. I've explained to you why I am making this recommendation to the board.
Nancy, please unmute yourself.
Nancy Olson, you have to unmute yourself.
What are you doing for IEP students who need one-on-one instruction?
I'm sorry, I did not answer that question. What are we doing for that? Well, the first thing that we were able to do was to provide the opportunity for in a limited form, we had our extended school year during the course of the summer. We were, I think, fairly successful at that.
My son was not part of that.
I think we were fairly successful at that, and we've learned, I think, an opportunity to try to provide a better support mechanism for the students that are most vulnerable, which include those that have IEPs. So we are and will be continuing to look at the opportunities to provide a mentor for them, an aide for them,
I had to
two
advocate for
teachers.
my son, unfortunately. The teachers did not advocate for my son. I had to advocate for my son. I had to go to his case manager, Maria Mio, again, which I will praise. The teachers did not do anything for him. He would have failed. He's now a senior. What are we going to do for this kid? He learned nothing. He needs in-class support. He needs one-on-one learning. That's what he needs. And you have to provide that for him. So what are you doing for these children who need that support? Who might not be so special need that they can go to another school or something, but need the one-on-one. He learned nothing from when you shut down, nothing. Again, the teachers, the only reason he passed last year was because I had to advocate for the teachers to do one-on-one with him to pass him.
I'm sorry that you had that experience. We have built in to our process time available for students to have interaction with the teachers outside of the regular formal virtual day, and we've built that into the schedule because it's something that we learned we have to do.
So he won't be able to do that. So he's losing out on a lot of stuff. And BOCES is open. He's going to his trade school.
Okay, we have to move on, unfortunately. Next question.
Since we have a few people that don't have access to the hand, I'm going to call on Kelly King first.
Hi, thank you for opening the meeting up to the public. I appreciate that. I am also an educator. I teach in actually the largest school district in the country, New York City. I am going back teaching kids, underprivileged children, which I've been committed to for 23 years. I'm not sure why, and I am a working mom. Believe me, Riverdale, River Edge has closed school, the drop of a hat when snow fell, and I had to find childcare for my children. I think that parents are very frustrated, including myself, that childcare is superseding the education of our children at Riverdale. And I'm saying that as a full-time teacher, as a parent. Number one, my daughter's going to be a senior in high school. How are we preparing them for college? To be honest, they have not been fully learning since March. They have SATs and ACTs coming up. Unfortunately, colleges are not all going test optional. Why aren't we considering a gradual opening with the seniors? Let's start there. And then to support Nancy, how are kids receiving feedback? How are they getting one-on-one instruction? My child does not require that, but as a teacher I teach inclusion classrooms, how are all students' needs being met? We need answers, okay? We need solutions. There has to be life jackets. We don't get on a boat without a life jacket. There has been no life jackets offered, none. And if I'm going back and New York City can somewhat figure it out, how can we not? And the area where I teach, the percentages of COVID cases are far greater than they are in River Edge and Ordeal. So how are we college ready? We have rising seniors and we have juniors.
I know what you're saying. I understand that.
Okay.
I think Zoe just called you, honey. What, Zoe, honey?
And it seems like one parent on here, or I don't know if it's educators, taking all these comments extremely personal. It's nothing personal. I'm a teacher. We are career professionals. We receive an excellent salary. We receive a pension and we receive benefits. I'm speaking for myself. We have a duty.
I'm not, excuse me, just one quick second. She said she's getting a message that she needs to be admitted. Barbara. I'm sorry. I've provided the explanation as to why I feel that we need to delay. No matter how many times I'm asked it, I'm not going to change that answer. I know people may be unsatisfied with that, but I've provided that. I believe our guidance department is dedicated to helping students prepare for the college process. Despite the fact that we had an interruption at the end of the school year, we did have a very successful opportunity for students to complete their college process, their application process, and their ability to accept and go to school. We will be continuing to do that during the course of this school year. Our guidance department will, of course, be reaching out to people, and they know that there are some sets of individuals, which include juniors and active seniors, that will need some additional attention to be able to complete the process for college.
Mark, do you have the woman with her hand raised? And can you just, there's no name on your screen, so we don't know who you are.
Debbie Bargiacci.
Okay. Go ahead.
Thank you. I'm sorry I didn't have my name on. Okay, so I do feel that it is unsatisfactory not to have our kids in school 100% of the time with their teachers. Okay, because if you want to make a living and you have childcare issues, you have to figure out the childcare. We're all parents. So that said, and I think we're very frustrated. So my questions are, will now we have a full day, a full week of virtual learning? That's the first question. Full day, full week. Second, will the teachers have to be on video just like we are? And will the students be, so we can interact?
So as I've indicated, we have identified a minimum level of participation, give live instruction through the Teams medium for teachers. That will be regardless of whether there is a combination of in-person, meaning students in the classroom, as well as the students who are home. In a fully virtual environment, they will be going through that live stream. We've identified a minimum level of participation that way, and we've identified additional ways that as people become more familiar with it, which includes the students, that there's ways for collaboration, small group instruction, etc. during the course of the year. I'm sorry, the other question. Yes, so virtual, as I've indicated, should the board accept the recommendation that I've made, we will be, it is our intention, it is my intention to have a full day schedule of straight 8 periods for 5 days a week in the virtual setting.
Thank you.
Okay, next, Mark.
Jeanette Honing.
Oh, hi, how are you? Yes, my question is, number one is like, I'm a little bit confused about this whole virtual learning thing. And once you open up the schools, how is it going to work? Like, my daughter's last name begins with W, so she's Tuesday through Friday. I understand that it's what could I say? Tuesday and Friday is periods 1 to 4, and Friday is periods 4 through 8. And then if the kids are virtual, how are they keeping up with? How are the teachers teaching the virtual kids and not the non-virtual kids? How is this all going to be?
The main interaction between the students and the instructors will be through the Teams medium. All students, whether they're in person or in a virtual state, will be logged in through Teams. Teams has expanded its opportunity to allow video pictures of all the students up on the screen now. That was a limitation that existed in the springtime that no longer does. And so in other words, teachers will be able to teach all of the students the same lesson at the same time through the Teams medium, whether a person is sitting in front of them or whether a person is sitting at a computer screen in some other location.
Okay, so whether you're sitting, so that means on Tuesday, they only get half the classes on Tuesday and the other half on Friday or something like that?
The current schedule for implementation, which I am recommending to the board to delay, would have students attending school 2 days a week in person. For those that have chosen an in-person option, and they would have 3 opportunities to participate in each period, because whether they're home for period 1, they'll be logged in for period 1. Then the next day, the person would be in for period 1 and logged in, and the students that were in person will be logged in to the second period. Then on the virtual day that's in the calendar, everyone is logged in through the virtual experience. And that is flip-flopped for the periods 5 through 8. So what we're talking about in the virtual schedule, in the in-person schedule at this point is 2 days a week that a student would be in the building. And I'm asking that that be delayed, which would mean that if it's delayed those 3 weeks, the students would miss 8 opportunities of in-person instruction, but they would pick up more than that through the virtual world, because every student would be logged in and the teacher would be logged in with the minimum level of live streaming.
Okay, so when if they're in person, they get out at like 12:50, and then they have like 40 minutes to get home, and then it's going to be virtual again, or that's going to be it?
In the afternoon, students would have the opportunity to meet with teachers one-on-one and in small groups to continue their learning. So there would be, for lack of a better term, they would have appointments where they would meet with their teachers, just like if they went for extra help. If we were in school, you make an appointment, or you let the teacher know you're going to be arriving for extra help. We would be doing the same thing if we have the hybrid schedule.
Okay, Mark, next question.
Thank you.
Gershman.
I'm sorry, Mark.
Emma Gershman. You have your hand raised.
Hi. So I have a question. Mr. Fletcher, if I understood you correctly, you said that during the times when there is virtual learning, then your recommendation to the board is that there's going to be a full day of instruction. Did I understand you correctly?
You did understand it correctly.
So I have 2 questions on the back of that statement. Question number 1, if so if the school is opened and there is, God forbid, 1 or 2 cases or whatever, and the school goes back fully virtual, do we expect this process of kind of switching back to be automated and kind of without delay, or we're going to be going through another set of, procedures and months of, delays in figuring out what to do when the school needs to switch from kind of live to virtual. That's question number one. And sorry, and question number two. Okay, sorry, forgot question number two. So if you could please address that.
Sure, no problem. The protocols in existence now from the New Jersey Department of Health, which are on our website, indicate that they indicate scenarios for schools to be open and for schools to close. As I've discussed at a number of other opportunities and other meetings, I think under the best of circumstances, all school districts need to be prepared to be able to pivot from any form of live instruction that they have to a virtual setting should one of those triggers be met. And I believe that we are ready to do that under any circumstance, so that if we resumed live instruction and we had hit a trigger where we would have to close the school, we would have to close the school for a couple of weeks, but we would implement virtual learning immediately that next day in the ideal circumstance. Could there be a delay of a day or so here or there? Yes, there could be, but in the ideal world, if we hit a trigger from an infection that causes us to close the school, we should be able to pivot right to this virtual schedule that I'm talking about now. And I think under the best of circumstances, any school district that is open needs to be prepared for that type of yo-yo to take place. As all of you are familiar with, we're seeing this in college campuses across the country where students have reported, and inside of 2 weeks, the schools closed because of COVID infection. It's entirely possible that that could happen here under the best of circumstances with the best of personal protective equipment. We all need to be prepared for that thing to happen.
Thank you. Sorry,
You're
I just
welcome.
remembered what my other question was. So my other question was, it seems like the question of opening for the full day in a virtual environment is something that requires a discussion or approval. Why is that?
No, it doesn't. What we have a mechanism right now for the full day virtual. That would have been the Wednesday of the in-person learning opportunity. So the current reopening plan had students coming in for 2 days a week, and every student would have a virtual experience during the Wednesday. And during that Wednesday, that's essentially the same schedule that we would be implementing now for 5 days. Instead of just 1 day a week, it'll be 5 days a week, where every period would meet every day over the course of the 5 days, as opposed to the current situation, which is every period only meeting 3 times a week.
Gotcha. So during the course of September, before the school opens for on-site instruction, and in case the school closes again in the full virtual mode, it's going to be a 5 days a week, full day instructions. Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yes.
Thank you.
Next question, Ms. Kristen, please.
So I know that we keep, or not we keep, it's been mentioned, this nebulous minimum number of, or time virtual, when they're doing virtual for live when the teachers will be live. So what is that minimum number, what the teachers will need to be instructing live? Hopefully it will be 100% of the school day that they will be expected to be live. But whatever it is, what is a parent's recourse when their teacher is not meeting that minimum of, or minimum for live time with the kids? And then is the administration going to take any measures with the teachers and disciplinary measures if need be to make sure that the teachers are teaching live for that minimum number?
So the recourse that any parent has, whether it's a virtual setting or a live setting, is to contact the building principal or the assistant principal. So contact the principal's office. The principal or assistant principal would get back to you. You may be directed to a subject area supervisor. You may be directed to the director of special services or some other administrator. Just we have policy that indicates this, so that if you're unsatisfied with the answers that you receive at that level, it's always the opportunity to escalate it up. Ultimately, all scenarios that involve that kind of a matter where there might be some discipline associated with it would end up in my desk if there's not a way of having that matter resolved at a lower level. I always encourage people to try to satisfy the matter at the lowest level, which would be to contact the teacher. If you're unsatisfied with that answer, then you contact the principal, et cetera, along the way. The minimum is that every period there would be live instruction. But as I've said on a number of occasions, we have some teachers that are extremely proficient at this and are already at a point where they start a lesson with every student in there. They direct students into small group instruction and group work, and then they're able to circulate virtually, if you will, to supervise that work. We've also provided a mechanism for administrators to be able to virtually walk through classrooms to make sure that live instruction is taking place, which we did not have in effect in the springtime.
So every period during the school day, the teachers are expected to be 100% of the period from start to finish live instruction.
Not what he said.
No, that's not what I said. I said to you that at a minimum, they need to be in with live instruction, but that as people become more proficient with it, there are ways to have small group instruction and group work take place in a live collaborative setting that the teacher supervises. And in that case, it wouldn't be necessarily live for 100% because the teacher would be dropping into group to group to group along the way. So at a minimum, you would just have 100% live instruction, live interaction like we're doing now. But I would hope that we would quickly escalate our skill set to a point where we have the opportunity for group work during the course of any virtual period, whether it be between now and October 5th, or once in an in-person setting and you have some portion of a schedule that's virtual.
Okay, so the days of, hi guys, how are you? Here's your work that you're expected to complete. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you tomorrow. Those days are over.
That is our intention.
That's great.
Okay, I'm sorry. We have to move on to the next. I think your question has been answered. Mark, you have another person? Thank
William
you.
Kleinfelder, please.
Hi, my name is William Kleinfelder. I'm a teacher at Riverdale High School. I just have a comment to make with regard to childcare. I don't have any options. I have 2 kids in elementary school, and my only options for childcare are through the school system, which, by the way, is now virtual. The only reason I don't have an accommodation request in is because my wife is virtual. I don't have a neighbor to ask. I don't have any family members to ask. I have nobody to ask for childcare. I'm not going to call a random person recommended me from a neighbor. It's not going to happen. So with regard to childcare, I don't have any options. And the only reason, again, I don't have a request in is because my wife is virtual through her school district. So I understand the sentiment or the sentiment, but again, I know I speak for many for the RDA, but that's just my comment. And I would like to thank you, Mr. Fletcher, for your recommendation for a limited virtual period. Thank you.
Next is Phil, please.
Yeah, hi. I don't have a question. I just want to make a couple of comments. Number one, I think Patrick is a good man. And my assumption is that the people on this board are good men and women as well. And I think it's a fair assumption to say that none of you have signed up for this job and had any thought process that this would be something that you all would be deciding this time or any time, quite frankly. Okay, and deciding life or death and deciding what the right thing is. I applaud Patrick. I applaud you for making this decision. I think it's courageous. So when I listen to the people and the parents in this town question the teachers and their dedication, it gets me sick. I have to be honest with you. Had 2 kids come through this school, and these teachers have been nothing but dedicated to the best interest of their students. And I think, Patrick, you've made the best decision for both staff and students. And I applaud you for that courage, quite frankly. And if this board were to make any other decision but to take your recommendation, I would question as to how you would come to that conclusion. So, parents, we're in the middle of a pandemic here. Let's take that into consideration. And I understand some of your concerns, but geez, I've never seen such vitriol to a dedicated teaching staff like the Riverdale staff that I'm hearing tonight. It's disgusting. That's all I've got to say.
Next is Mary Joan Wilcoxon.
Mary Joan, please unmute yourself.
Beg your pardon. Yes, here you go. Okay, thank you. This is Mary Joan Wilcox, and I'm a Spanish teacher at the high school. And to keep along with the protocol of asking a question, I was just for some parents who are concerned about teachers being available 100% of the time while they're teaching, and piggybacking on Patrick's explanation. So my question is, do you know what teaching by the transmission method is? This would be, for example, what I grew up with, where the teacher stands in front of the classroom 100% of the time and gives information. Well, if there's any way to turn off students, it's by transmission. So not only is it old school, but we've been taught how not to do that. So over the summer, I was doing some homework about how best to teach virtually in the event that we had to do this again in the fall. Frankly, I anticipated it given the data and the statistics, but regardless of that. Anyway, one of the comments that I read over and over was, do not think you have to teach, and that word I'm using air quotes, 100% of the time, meaning that transmission. So I would do what I normally do in the classroom, which is beg the students for 10 or I usually say like 12 or 13 minutes of their time to get their attention, where I give them information
while they're chomping at the bit to get ready to work. And then I say, okay, now let's work, because that's what they're there to do, is to work. Yes, I guide them. Yes, I teach them, but I can't teach them the whole period, because you will lose them. You'll lose all of them. Now, in the classroom, I can walk around and I can see what people are doing. Yes, is it harder to do that virtually? Yes, it is. But I'm available for questions. And hopefully with the new program where we can see people on the screen, people meaning my students. And as I'm not expected to be in my bedroom, I don't want to see my students lying in their bed either, because it's like a friend of mine who's a writer. His father told him he said, I have two words for you. Get dressed in the morning, because it sets you in the mood to work. I think that's, this is a comment, not a question. We teachers do this because we love being with our students. Ms. Dunn said this earlier. There's nothing that we love more than being with the students. So it's not something we would choose to do, but we didn't choose to have a pandemic either. All right, thank you for your time.
Okay, for the next written question, we have, if keeping the school closed is a reasonable accommodation, what is expected to change in a month to resolve the accommodation?
Repeat that, Mark, please. Excuse me.
Okay. If keeping the school closed is a reasonable accommodation, what is expected to change in a month to resolve the accommodation?
I believe that provides us all the opportunity that we need to address the varying types of issues that may keep staff out of the building, so that we would be able to supervise the students properly. I also heard this evening members of the association indicating that they would be working with us in order to resolve those issues. I take them on their word. I hope that continues down the process, as we move through the next couple of weeks.
Next question is are you saying that you will not open until every other district opens?
No, I never said that at all. What I said is that the situation will become much clearer once we come into after Labor Day, because that is the last scheduled start for most districts in the state of New Jersey. So all districts either have to be open or open in person or open virtually. I need to emphasize that opening virtually is not an easy situation for our staff members either. I believe what it does is provide us the opportunity to address this complex issue with a little bit more time. I also want to indicate that our in-person instruction had students in place 2 days a week and a virtual day. So they had 3 contacts with the teachers during the course of a week. The virtual gives us the opportunity to have 5 contacts, which I believe provides us with at least a better opportunity to strike at some success in the learning environment. I anticipate that as the matter becomes clear, and what I mean by that is the extent of the virus, how long it will take to develop a vaccine, how long it will take to have a standard protocol of treatment, as all those things move in the right direction. And as we continue to have some good success in New Jersey and New York with mitigation, that we will be able to move towards a fully in-person environment over the course of time. It's not going to happen overnight, but that is the intent, and our goal, everyone's goal, is to get back to a fully in-person instructional opportunity.
The next question is, one moment, please. The next question is, has the Riverdale Board of Education discussed any of their reopening plans with the town departments of health for Ordeal and River Edge per the road back state guidance? If so, what was the input of those involved?
I provided the, as I've indicated, I've provided our plans to the mayors and councils and their respective task forces, and made them available to the departments of health, just so that we're clear. River Edge has a Department of Health. Ordeal contracts with the County of Bergen to provide that. Both of them have local health people. So we have provided our plans along the way to them. We have our medical personnel that we have involved in the process include our school nurses, our school physician, and there have been some other members of the community who are involved in healthcare that have provided us with some, and provided me specifically with some information regarding the coronavirus. And what was their response? Their response was, thank you. We will be dealing with the contact tracing issues that occur should there be a confirmed case of corona.
Next question is, what are you doing for children with IEP and 504 plans?
As I've indicated, one of the things that we have found in the course of the springtime is that our most vulnerable learners had issues with continuing their learning experience. So we are going to be continuing to reach out to them so that we provide an opportunity for the wraparound services, if you will, which means a variety of different things of having an aide participate in the virtual lesson or the live lesson when it occurs, 2 teachers that may be in a room for collaborative learning, in person or in class. And we are still trying to identify ways to get some of our self-contained virtual learners back in the building more quickly and for longer periods of time. 504 accommodations are generally related to accommodations that can be done in the classroom. So we are still actively engaged in the 504 process that's taking place now. Our 504 teams in both buildings are meeting with individuals to either renew or to continue or create new 504 plans for students. Pardon me.
The next question is, when schools open, why do not students stay stationary in their respected classroom as opposed to keep switching classrooms during the day? How will their seat be cleaned during the day if 3 to 4 kids sit in the same seat?
Pardon me. There should be no expectation that each and every surface will be cleaned each and every time someone moves from one place to another. That's why we have installed the sand sanitizers throughout the process, throughout the buildings. That's why we've encouraged the hand washing to go on throughout the building, to try to keep any touch-related transmission of anything, whether it be COVID or the flu, to a minimum.
So Patrick, I'm
However,
you're jazzed.
However, students in the high school and the middle school that are in departmental settings, which means that they change classes for each content area, unfortunately, they commingle. So in other words, and I'm just doing this for an example, you could have a student that's enrolled in English A who participates in Math B. And not every student that's in Math or in English A participates in Math B because they may be in Math A or Math D. So there's just no way at a departmental level to only have staff members move from one place to another because students commingle. And at the high school level in particular, it's not uncommon to have 3 different grade levels involved in one class.
Next question is, has the RDEA prepared a list of non-negotiable safety requirements for an agreement to return to brick and mortar? Are there minimal safety regulations that have not yet been met that you believe will be met by October 5th? And do you foresee this delay moving to November and December and January?
The RDA has been cooperative with me and with the members of our staff, our team, our administrative group in order to make this successful. So they have not, if you will, presented a non-negotiable set of demands. I want to repeat, they've been cooperative in trying to create a setting that will be successful. I want to reiterate that this is a recommendation that I have to make to the board, and it's not influenced by whether or not someone is happy with me or angry with me. I believe the RDA at their word that they've indicated that they will continue to work in order to be successful to open this in October. But as I've said, if it's only up to us at Riverdale, I don't see any reason why this doesn't provide us enough time to be able to achieve that. And the only scenario I see where we'll move forward beyond that point of time is if there's an outside influence that requires us to close school again, like we had to do in the springtime.
Next question is, if we're going all virtual next Friday, how is virtual learning going to be improved from the spring? And this is also, second part of the question is to Mr. Fletcher and the teachers, are you ready with the tools you need and have guidelines been set for 100% virtual and for live stream teaching?
As I've indicated prior answers to questions, we've set a minimum standard for participation in live instruction for staff members and for students, but we've also identified levels that would go beyond the minimum level to exceed that, and we've created a mechanism for supervision of that process. And if that process is not being successful in your particular child's case, the mechanism is to talk to a teacher first and then go to the principal. I apologize, I lost the second part of the question. Mark, if you wouldn't mind to repeat it.
The second part was, are the teachers ready with the tools they need to, and have guidelines been set for 100% virtual and for live stream teaching?
Yeah, that was what I just answered. The other one was, okay. I think I got that, okay. All right, I'm just moving my screen because I want to plug in to make sure that it continues live while I'm moving here. But you can carry on, please.
The next question is, how many students average will be in each class, and how are they keeping social distance in the classroom?
Our return plan.
While Patrick is getting set up, I do want people to know this meeting is live in the media center in the high school. We have 5 board members here live. We're not wearing masks because we are social distancing. And this meeting is being recorded. You can find it on YouTube in about 48 hours. So if you want to go back to listen to anything, you can check it out on the YouTube channel.
Thank you. I apologize. As I was moving around, I pulled the headphones out of my ears. How are we maintaining social distancing? We had our architect analyze both facilities to determine capacity in the classroom by maintaining social distancing. Those numbers are shown in our restart plan so that they were able to give us a calculation to determine that we were be able to keep 50% of the students in the building. That was not based upon just a whim. That was based upon an analysis of the facility to determine what capacity we could have in there.
Next question is, if Wednesday is a virtual learning day and cleaning is going on, how are staff supposed to be teaching virtually from their classroom?
Well, clearly, that's a logistic issue that takes place inside the facility because you're not disinfecting the whole building at the same time. So there are ways of logistically coordinating that throughout the facility.
In the full virtual model, will the students be attending every day, full day, or half-day schedule as proposed in the hybrid model?
They would be attending school 5 days a week for full days.
How many of the medical and child care accommodation requests have been approved?
No child care issues have been approved at this point. However, I'm just hesitant because I don't want to violate any issues, but I've approved 8 consultation with the school physician. We've approved 8 accommodations for medical.
Next question is, does the virtual only model apply to special needs students?
Yes, as I've indicated, we're starting in that place. However, we are trying to evaluate how to get our special needs learners back in the building more quickly and for more frequent and for a lengthier amount of time than less vulnerable learners. We did have some experience with that in the summer when we opened our extended school year and had students attending. I think we had 18 students attending our 3-week session or 4-week session in the summer.
Next question is the district looking to hire 28 people to accommodate the staff that will not be in the building? If so, who? Substitutes?
There 28 people applied, 8 have been granted, so we simply are looking to figure out a way to accommodate those individuals, whether it be that they are in a virtual setting, because as I've indicated, 20% of our staff, 20% of our students across the grades have indicated that they're going to be all virtual. So we're looking to try to find a mechanism to accommodate all of that at the same time.
How does the River Edge district have a greatly detailed reopening plan and Riverdale does not?
I don't know how to answer that question. I have not looked at the River Edge plan in any great detail. We did collaborate with both descending districts at the beginning of the year. Our plans were submitted to the County Office for Education, and we're awaiting, final acknowledgement that we've met all the requirements for that. But I think that's the same case across all the school districts that are in Bergen County.
Next question is, would you consider a gradual opening for the school? Start with the senior class. College readiness has greatly been affected. How is the school supporting seniors with college deadlines if there is a delayed opening?
Yes, as I've indicated before, that we will continue to look at the options for bringing students back prior to the deadline of October 5th that I'm recommending here, that we return full district in person, the whole district participating in some in-person format. Our guidance counselors stand ready to assist the students, particularly those that are looking at the college process, and just as they would if we were in person without any restrictions, they'll be setting up the meetings in order to begin that process with all the students.
Mark, do we have any live questions?
Stetter?
Thanks, Mark. Can you hear me, Mr. Fletcher?
Yes.
Okay.
My phone's about to die.
I guess I just had
Phone's
a
muted,
question and a statement. My question is, because the meeting started an hour and a half ago or so, you had referenced at that time that the PPEs to open the building have not arrived, right? They're of the plexiglass nature. There's a 6-month lag on these right now. I'm hopeful that we're getting October 5th. That's great. But having nothing to do with staffing issues, is it true to say that the Riverdale School District, without the PPEs, could not open on September 8th anyway?
No, I don't know if that's a completely fair statement, because what we're trying to do is to provide a greater level of PPE regarding the barriers. There is at least one class that I know would not be able to run in a in a live setting without that PPE, but we would, I think, still be able to operate some of the other classes. So I don't think it's a mutually exclusive statement. I make no comment to a 6-month back order. That's a statement that you're making on that regard. As I said, we've been successful at getting all of it except a very small portion of that PPE. And if we are not successful at having the order filled, even though we've had a variety of different promises that it would be, we would have to get into a position where we have to make it. We don't have an option of delaying in-person instruction further because of the lack of desk shields.
I wasn't trying to imply that. It was just a statement. And my understanding of the way this is written is it's really kind of an all or nothing thing. If one room isn't protected, that's kind of a big deal for everybody involved, students and staff. I guess my second is I think it needs to be clarified that the members of the RDEA are not looking for Patrick to solve our childcare needs, right? Patrick is operating under the law. In the state of New Jersey, there's a New Jersey Family Leaves Act, which means if you have the ability to take the pay cut involved, you do not have to go to work to take care of your family. The Families First Corona Response Act also says the same thing. So I think what Patrick is saying, and this is not my meeting, so I apologize, Patrick. But at the end of the day, this is not Patrick's decision whether to grant leaves or not. Right. The fact of the matter is the RDEA is working tirelessly to get this to work. The fact that Patrick and our group agree on the virtual startup is due to a number of concerns, one of which absolutely is figuring out how to get the building staffed. Right. As a parent and a teacher, not as the president, right, I am entitled to take a pay cut and not come to work. That doesn't give the district a choice, right? So I just kind of wanted to clarify that. So that's all. I do appreciate your efforts, and I know this is a tiring thing, and I do not live in town. Every school is facing the same thing, and we're all in it together, and we're trying to help out and make sure our students are served. Thank you.
Nisi? Nisi, you have a hand raised? Thank you.
Yes, hi, I just have a question. The first day of school, will it be Friday, September 4th or Tuesday, September 8th? Because I know in the previous meeting, they had said the 4th was going to be a Meet Your Teacher Day.
Correct, that is still in effect.
Okay, so it's Friday, they will still be Meet the Teacher Day on Friday, the 4th, and then,
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Next question is a student question. Student tutoring provided via Honor Society has always been a vital part of academic support at Riverdale HS. What type of platform will be provided for students to consider tutoring their peers and for those students needing tutoring during the remote instruction?
It's a great question. That whole process hasn't completely been resolved yet regarding co-curriculars. That would fall into our co-curricular realm, even though it doesn't necessarily, it's not necessarily a club, etc. But some mechanism to connect students in need with students that have a skill set is something that we're still resolving, still working on.
Next question is, will students still have the option to choose virtual learning past October 5th as they choose?
Yes. The answer is yes, as long as the outside agency, meaning the Department of Ed or the governor's office, doesn't intervene or interfere with that.
Do you have anything else there, Mark?
Somebody wanted clarification on the question. Will teachers be allowed to teach from the building, or they be required to teach from the building?
It's a combination of both. We're trying to resolve those issues as we speak.
For classes such as AP Chem or Physics, how will students complete the labs needed for the classes?
The AP classes, of course, have a different requirement that's associated with it because it's really governed by the College Board. Pardon me. The College Board did find a mechanism to allow for those labs to be completed remotely in the springtime, and we anticipate that that will continue during the course of the first part of the school year, that they would allow that because there are other states where there are other places that are beginning remotely. It's not influencing us, but the College Board has to consider that, like Philadelphia, Los Angeles, et cetera, that have already indicated that they're beginning in a virtual setting. And they participate just as we do in the College Board process. So the College Board will define how we allow that to happen.
Some schools are thinking of holding classes outside. Any thoughts about this?
There will always be the opportunity for people to move out. The problem that occurs here is that we need to make sure that we don't prevent the students that are either in a virtual setting because we said they have to be in order to create social distancing, or those that are in a virtual setting because they chose to be. We have to find a way to allow that to happen without creating a split there between that. But sure, it's always something that we're considering.
Will changing the return to school date to October 5th affect fall sports in any way?
No. The school sports right now are being governed by a collaborative agreement between the governor's office and the New Jersey Interscholastic and NJSIAA. Forgive me, I always mess up the acronym. And right now, school sports that you're allowed to offer are being governed by that. So school sports are scheduled to begin in September. I think it's September 14th is the first practice. I think, don't hold me on that, Mr. Nelson would be better person to contact on that. But, recently, as an example, NJSIA indicated that volleyball and gymnastics would be moved to a later portion of the school year. That we're affected by volleyball. We don't offer gymnastics, but if tomorrow they came out and said you couldn't have golf, as an example, or any other sport substitute in there, we would have to abide by that. But as long as it's open, we're going to continue to try to participate.
Will students be required to keep their screens on during live lessons to indicate their active learning and preparation?
That's one of the minimum standards that we're looking for our students to participate, just as we have minimum standards for staff members to participate. However, that will also always be a mechanism or something that has to be dealt with through classroom management. In other words, if a teacher sees that a student is not part of that, they're going to have to find a way to, make that happen more frequently. But that is our expectation, that if you're participating, your camera's on.
Does anybody have a live question? Mark, do you have any more written questions?
Yeah, I'm just trying to sort through ones that have been.
Right. You don't want to be repetitive, correct? If anybody has a live question, please hit the hand.
Oh, okay. Sarah Teresa Bartoloni.
Hi, good evening. I just wanted to thank you for clarifying some of the questions that we've had. And we definitely look forward to further clarification on the plans that you have come up with for the hybrid solution and also the remote solution to get our kids back in the classroom and such. I also wanted to just ask, I was recently in the building, and of course, I am an art teacher and also a resident, and I was wondering if there was any information about the supplies. And the supplies, I know in the art department, we carefully considered all of the things that we usually order so as to be proactive and ready and prepared for a potential shutdown. But our supplies are not in yet, so we were just wondering if there was an update on the supplies needed to work with the students this year.
I would have no way of knowing that at this particular point. I would just suggest then that you reach out to the principal, and if you're unable to get an answer at that point, then reach out to me.
Okay, thank you very much.
You're most welcome.
Silva Anna Christina.
My son is to the 8th grade, and I just had a clarifying question regarding the in-person hybrid model versus remote instruction. I was understanding that we begin the school year with 2 half-days in person and 1 remote day, which would be virtually, which is really only the equivalent of 2 days a week, 2 full days of school a week. So I was wondering, when we do finally reopen, whether that's September or October, when we do finally reopen in person, what will happen the other days of the week when they are not in school and when they're not receiving remote instruction on Wednesdays?
The intention, the understanding regarding lesson plans for our staff is that they will create opportunities for students to do work that requires the live interaction with the teacher and or their students through the Teams process when an in-person component is operating or virtual. There will be opportunities that students will have to complete work on their own, which we have had for a long time in the minimalist sense. That's called homework. In a more detailed way, it's the long-term project that's assigned, whether it be an essay in English or a lab in science or something like that. So students are or have had the opportunity to complete work on their own. And that would be the expectation that the lesson would accomplish both of those types of learning.
Thank you for that. So aside from the 2 half days in person, we have 1 full day of virtual instruction and then 2 asynchronous days where it's kind of more just doing homework and doing assignments that teachers have laid out the days before, correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I guess I'm having trouble understanding because I'm getting feedback here because other people who are in the room here are saying I answered that incorrectly. So would you repeat your question for me, please?
Sure. I'm alone in the room, but there might be an echo, not everyone's on mute. My clarifying question was in regard to the improvement on Wednesday, when children are fully virtual.
Just half of the classes, 3 days.
At the days that the children are not in school,
Thank you.
it's not a full day.
Okay.
remote
No, yes, I understand now. Forgive me.
Okay.
I did not understand your question before. I didn't answer it correctly. So under the current scenario, on Monday and Tuesday, there's a combination of in-person and virtual learning for periods 1 through 4. And on Wednesday, there's virtual only lesson and planning for periods 1 through 4. Wednesday also has virtual learning for 5 through 8. And then Thursday and Friday has a combination of in-person and virtual learning for 5 through 8. So each period, each class has 3 touches a week with their teacher. The lessons that they're designed for would also have other types of learning that would take place on the days when it's not virtual or in person. Could be long-term projects, could be group work, these are things that come to my mind, could be essays, etc. So it's not like they don't have work to do on the days when their period isn't meeting. It's just that they have work to be completed in other matter.
Okay, so it's more like homework days. When they're off days or more.
Homework is a form of that, but that's a very minimal form of it. I think we're talking about more comprehensive group work, where I certainly am.
Okay, I would hope so, because if they're only getting 2 half days in person and 1 full day of remote instruction with all periods, those 2 off days, I would want to make sure that my son has more to do to keep him engaged, so he's not losing gains in ELA and math, because we're ultimately preparing them for school. Right?
Sure.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Next question is, are teachers required to get a COVID test?
No, but our screening, the answer is no. We don't have the ability to compel people to take a COVID test unless they have even an active infection or a positive test, because then you would need that to return to school. However, we have a universal screening process that all staff and students will participate in on every given day, which includes temperature checks.
And Mark, this is Joe. Just so people know, not everybody is on the screen. So if your hand is up, that doesn't necessarily mean we can see you, because we don't have all 300 people on the screen. So just so you're aware.
Nancy Olson, please.
Thank you, because you didn't answer my question. So another 2 comments. So you're doing the SAT September 26th and the ACT October 3rd before even you're doing it, but you're having testing done before we're even allowed in the school. That's a no-no to me. Again, I'm going to clarify on sports. It should be all or nothing. If they play sports, we should be in school. It should be one or the other. The second is you never answer my question about IEP students. Again, my son would have failed last year if it wasn't that I advocated and his case manager didn't advocate. And what are you doing for IEP students? Because a lot of people have actually texted me since then. They want to know, these kids need to be in school. They need one-on-one instruction. What are you going to do about that? Is there a way, even remotely? There is no way remotely, because it was a joke. My son didn't learn anything at the end of the school year. Is there a way that IEP kids can go to school and learn? Because quite frankly, what you're doing, half the teachers, if they don't want to work, take the leave. If you're doing half things remotely and half things, you only need half the teachers. What are we doing about these IEP kids that need assistance? Because I did not get a clarified answer on that at all.
I'll try to clarify what I indicated to you before, and that is that we learned from some issues that took place over the springtime, and we are working to provide opportunities for one-to-one assistance for our most vulnerable learners.
So are we going to get tutors?
But
that come to our homes?
I am not
because
going.
there was no one-on-one assistance whatsoever. I had to advocate. Crazy.
Right. But
The
as
teachers did not do anything, even though he was failing. They did not. 2 of his teachers never even reached out to me.
I'm sorry that you had that experience. It is certainly not the experience that we would encourage or that I would encourage in any way, shape, or form. What are we trying to do? We're trying to identify our most vulnerable learners, some of whom have IEPs, some of whom are English language learners, and provide to them some additional options for in-class support, one-to-one options during the summer.
But what are these supports?
During the school.
What are these supports?
I've said to you that that would include in-class support, that would include one-to-one options, that would include the ability for staff members to meet with the students during the one-to-one time in the afternoon. However, to answer your individual question, I would never be able to do that here. You would have to go through that with your case manager and Mr. Cooney, who is the Director of Special Services.
And then just another comment about that one teacher who did the childcare. If he has to stay home to watch his children, he's not 100% into my children. So again, we could do remote, and I'm not good with remote, but if you're going to do remote, the teachers need to be at school and be 100% to the children, not staying at home and minding other children, their own children, because then that's a 50-50 thing. And that's not what I pay my taxes for. And I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you.
Elizabeth Brown.
Thank you. First, just a suggestion. I don't know about the Teams app. It seems like a lot of people have difficulties. I can see the raise the hand function, but I can't, it's telling me I can't raise the hand, and some questions are being skipped over. And I know it's a lot of information, so it's just something to look at, maybe settings, even settings to see more people on a screen at a time. But my question is, do you think that 5 days, 8 periods a day will cause online fatigue for both the students and the staff? And if so, what is in place should a student or a staff member feel burnt out from being online all day?
That is just a great question, and I'm not just saying that to make you feel good.
Oh, well, thanks.
Yes. Online learning can result in fatigue. There's no question about it. Why what we're trying to do and trying to set as a minimum is that as best we can, we use the technology to have face-to-face conversation, so that it's not just here's your work, do your work online, submit it to me, and move on. We're hoping that instructional opportunity to have the conversation like we're having now would be something that will reduce some of the online fatigue. However, if we have a point where students are exhibiting that, or parents are letting us know that they're exhibiting that, we would try to work in some other option of a day dedicated to catch up, a day dedicated to not online, a day dedicated to providing the opportunity for students and staff members to regenerate and rejuvenate. We would continue to look at those options that are available.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Karen Gloystein.
That was you. Hi, thanks. Thanks, Mr. Fletcher, for taking the time. 2 questions for you building off of the previous comment. One, will there be any modifications in the amount of times children will be online all day? The second question is related to the difference between hybrid and all virtual. It seems that the students in all virtual will be on 5 days a week, but will have minimal time with their teachers on the hybrid days. Has there been any consideration for allowing them to stream into the live classes? Thanks.
Yes, that's the basis of participation. The basis of participation, whether it be in person because you've chosen it, and virtual because we made a decision to keep half the class home for social distancing purposes, or those who choose to be home virtually all the time. We're hopeful that there will be a mechanism for all 3 of those silos of students to have the opportunity to collaborate by live streaming.
So the students will be able, even in the hybrid model, once we go back in October, to be in the classroom to live stream with their teacher 5 days a week? Is that how, or at least 4 days a week? Is that how I understand it?
Well, the current hybrid model that you have there is 3 days a week. The virtual that if the board accepts my recommendation, would be 5 days a week. And yet, so yes, for both of those scenarios.
But sorry, and I apologize for the clarification, but then when they do go back after, if it's approved, back live or half live, would the students be able to stream in every day?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Every day that the period's in session, yes.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
We have a question, and it is the middle school students usually enter the building the middle school students usually enter the building in the morning in 4 doors. Some arrive early. Will they still be able to enter in all of the doors? And where do the students go if they arrive early? They usually congregate in the hallways.
Right. So again, another great question. Each building had to develop and design of means of ingress and egress for the facility and traffic flow throughout the facility. So there will still be access in the middle and have designed some projects or some mechanisms to bring that out to students. So as an example, the high school had a session with freshman students last week. The middle school was scheduled to have, I think it was next week. I asked them to hold on it until we went through this conversation here, so that because we will have to talk to each of the students, each of the parents, so that they understand how to come in and out of the building. But in a short way, to answer your question, students will still be able to enter from the main portion of the building where the glass doors are that face the field, and students will still be able to enter the rear of the facility by the cafeteria. But in both places, there's a screening process that will be in place that allows for a temperature check as well. Students would be those who come in at the early portion of the arrival time would be directed to their first period. They would not be able to congregate in the halls because we're not going to authorize lockers to be used at this time. Students will carry the material with them. Whatever they come in with, they're carrying around all day and then carrying out at the end of the day. So in a sense, they would go to their first period. First period would have this extra time associated with while students are coming in. It would be an opportunity for students to catch up on any work while they're there, or if they have guidance questions or other types of questions, they'll be able to access those services during that time.
Mary Jo Wilcoxon.
Hi, this suggestion is coming a little late in the evening, but I just discovered if you don't have the hands raised symbol on your bar, if you close the chat dialog on the right-hand side of the screen, then the hand raised symbol will come up. That's all.
Thank you.
Somebody wanted clarification on are students returning to hybrid model after October 5th?
That is the intention here. My recommendation here is to delay the implementation of the hybrid schedule till October 5th. Yes. However, as I've indicated on multiple occasions in my communications, the guidelines keep changing, and I'm only using this because I'm also an eternal optimist. If tomorrow a vaccine were available and the public health crisis were declared over, then we would have a whole different scenario that we would have to address. That is absolutely the most optimistic, and I use it just because it's an example that I think we all understand is not the case right now. But should guidelines develop or change that allow us to do different types of instruction or increase the capacity in the buildings, then we do have some options that are available that we would continue to operate.
Can you explain the screening that will be taking place each morning?
Sure. Each morning, students and staff and anybody that works in the facility will be receiving an electronic version of the questionnaire that you probably have filled out if you've either attended a dentist or gone to a dentist office or a doctor's office now, that asks about certain symptoms of corona. When they complete that, what that will do is give them an indication right on their phone of whether or not they, quote unquote, are pass the screening or not. And it would certainly give parents an opportunity to be able to say, maybe I should have my child looked at by a professional, a medical professional. When they come to the front door, they'll be showing their phone that indicates the status of their questionnaire, and then they will go to a facial recognition kiosk, which will take temperature. There's no touching, you don't have to touch anything, and that whole process will be supervised by administration, staff, et cetera, who we have assigned to that process. That will occur every day until we move past the need to do so based on whatever guidelines we're dealing with. And that would have been explained in the one-to-one rollout or Riverdale Middle School 101 rollout that I mentioned before, that I asked the middle school to not do until we had this conversation this evening. And the high school already did it with the 9th grade.
Can you address issues related to ventilation in the buildings? Are full HVAC system inspections required? Is the district required to make public the results of inspections?
My hesitation is the word inspections. School districts are required to maintain their heating, ventilation systems based upon the manufacturer recommendations and the minimum standards that are set by the Department of Community Affairs, which governs, air exchange in the buildings. Air exchange has not changed as a result of COVID, and when we comply with ASHRAE, ASHRAE, which is the standards that govern our systems, you automatically you will comply with that. So local districts have to have the ability to show that we meet those standards. There isn't a regular inspector that comes in from the outside to do that, but we have to have a mechanism inside to do it. You can also meet those standards simply by opening windows, and that's also in the road back and the other documents that we are trying to comply with. So the answer is we have the ability to show that we have enough airflow in the buildings, because since there wasn't an inspector that does it, like a fire inspector, et cetera, that comes into your buildings, we had our architect come in and take a look at the facility to make sure that we were in compliance, or how we were to stay in compliance.
Nancy Olson.
Please unmute yourself.
I think clearly your minds are made up where you want to go with this. But I think if you are going to do remote learning, 100% of the staff needs to be in 100% of the building. So we get 100% of the education that our taxpayers are buying.
Thank you.
They can't be remote learning from home. If there's no kids in the class and that's how you want to do it, the teachers can safely distance themselves in the school and do their learning from there. That kids get an education, that they're not distracted from family, that they're not, oh, I'm staying, like that one teacher said, oh, my wife is working, I have to stay home for the kids. I want 100% of the kids, the teachers' attention while my kids are at school. And that's why I pay these taxes.
Thank you.
Sylvia Hermina.
Hi, thank you. I'm sure this is very exhausting, but I do have a question. If in the event October rolls around, and I know our intent is to go back to the hybrid model, but if the staff still does have the same childcare issues that they're expressing this evening on this virtual meeting, do we have a plan B? Do we know what we're doing? I mean, are we looking at some type of, excuse the expression, disaster recovery if the same staff that isn't able to walk into the building today is still unable to walk into the building in October? Do we have another plan?
First off, I again thank the RDA for their offer this evening to continue to work cooperatively to resolve the issue. And I have no reason to doubt that they won't work with me to try to resolve that. Plan B would be to make sure that we have sufficient substitutes. Plan C would be to determine if we have to hire from either an agency or put out, want ads to hire permanent subs for the district. All of those things will continue to move forward so that we can return to instruction on October 5th.
Thank you.
We're just resolving a technical issue here in the room.
Hey, Mark, this is Joe. Question I have is, are there any more questions in there that are, because in the chat, I'm only seeing so many and it's a lot of repetitive things. Just if anybody has anything different. If not, I'd like to make a motion that we continue on to regular business. So, Mr. Graff, if that's the motion that's on the table to end public
This
comment.
is Stephanie. I'm going to second that motion.
Okay, so
Just if anybody has anything additional, I'd love to hear it, but if not, we'd like to discuss moving forward.
okay, so Joe gave the motion, Stephanie seconded. We're going to put Patrick's plan to a vote. Sorry, I'm on that. We're going to put Patrick's plan to a vote.
Let's make sure we have a vote to move to take a vote.
Okay.
We have to approve that we're going to go on with the regular meeting and end public comment.
Right.
So that will be Tom.
Okay. So the motion is to go back to the regular business. Claudia? Claudia O'Neill?
Sorry, yes.
Alan,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tracy Ellen,
Yes.
Tracy, Doug, Doug Cooper,
Barbara?
Barbara
Doug?
Kuchar,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Hi, just a clarification. Stephanie and Claudia are now using the same computer because mine died. So you won't see me on the meeting, but yes.
okay. Joe,
Yes, that we go back into regular session and end.
and Al.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, now that we're back into the regular session, may I have a motion to move Patrick's plan for a vote?
Stephanie, so moved.
Okay. Who's going to second that?
Claudia, second.
Okay. And does anybody have any questions on the board about the plan? Okay. Tom, when you're ready, please.
Claudia? Claudia?
You're
All
mu-
right, sorry, I muted myself twice. I just want to say that I think it's important for our kids to go to school. So with that being said, I'm going to say no. I want our kids in the building.
Alan?
I agree. No. The kids need to go back to school.
John Samuel?
Yes.
Tracy Ellen?
Before I cast my vote, I'd just like to say the reason why I'm casting my vote the way that I am, which is that whether we believe in the fact that teachers are going to apply for leaves or not, that is beyond the board control. And I feel if teachers are going to avail themselves of the leaves that are optional for them, that the building will then become an unsafe situation where we cannot socially distance. So I am voting yes for Patrick.
I'm sorry, is that a yes, Tracy Ellen?
Yes.
Doug?
Yeah, just my reasoning is that we're gonna have the same issues with the teachers wanting to be in school and staffing the building now as we do in October. And my belief is that for students, that's been
Unmute.
in the building. So I'm voting no.
I'm sorry, Doug, I did not hear the final vote, please.
I'm sorry, I was muted. What I was saying is, my belief is that the students should be in the building and that we're gonna have the same issues with staffing if the teachers do not want to be in the building in October as we do now. So I'm voting no.
Barbara Kuchar?
Yes. While I believe the kids need to be in school, I don't think we're ready to open at this time, so I will vote yes.
Stephanie?
I think there. Well, I think there are going to be hiccups and transition, and Pat pointed out, it's going to be a roller coaster no matter how we start, in person, virtual. There's going to be openings, there's going to be closings. I believe somebody said, we are in this together, no matter how it plays out. And so we always have to remember that. And I think that one of the parents brought it up towards the end of the public session. I am concerned about the students. It's 5 months. We all have students, parents, staff members. We all have sort of a COVID fatigue. And I think by entering the building, just like when I enter a business that I haven't been able to enter in a really long time, it somehow just lifts your spirit. So if it's for 2 weeks and we have to go virtual, if it's for a month, I think it's going to make a huge bit of difference for everyone involved to be able to have that human interaction. And so I'm voting no.
Joe Manzelli?
Okay, I'm going to reiterate the fact that I do believe people and kids need to be in the schools and they want to be in the schools. And as Stephanie just said, it's 5 months. I really think, though, The reason behind my voting yes is because, you know what? For another 30 days, if we can do this so that we can be in school and stay in school as opposed to, like even some of these baseball teams will too, but people, they start it up and then they got to stop and go. I think that's going to be doing more damage. So I'd rather wait the 30 days approximately and start on October 5th and be able to go from there. So I'm voting yes in favor of Mr. Fletcher's recommendation.
Mr. Graff, Al Graff.
Okay, the reason we all sit on this board is to give the students/children in this district the best education. And the way it stands right now, if we have to hire 30 substitute teachers to teach the students of Riverdale, I don't think we're doing our job. So I am voting yes for Patrick's plan.
Okay, motion passes 5-4.
Okay, thank you, Tom. We're going to move along in the regular agenda. We have presentations, reports. I have no report tonight. And Patrick, do you have anything you want to add?
Nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Committee reports, I know nobody has met, none of these subcommittees have met. If anybody on one of the committees has anything to add at this point, I know we do have some curriculum that we're pulling from the agenda tonight. Roman numeral 8 has been pulled from the regular agenda. And
So this is Stephanie, and I
Yeah.
just wanted to comment as to, with the change in the meeting date, we just didn't come full circle on some of the tweaking to the curriculum, and so we're just giving it a little extra time. It will be on the next meeting agenda. It's nothing significant, just I's, T's, some wording changes. So that's the reason for it being pulled, but the curriculum is done and ready to be implemented for these new courses, just not, there for our approval of published, agenda that we put up at this very moment. So that's the reason.
Okay, thank you.
Excuse me, Al.
Yep.
I just have a request if Mark could put up the agenda for the public to see as well, because I know it's out there, but if they could see it on the screen, that would be helpful.
Very good. And I have one suggestion, and this is for Doug, on the Facilities Committee. I think we should probably put on the calendar a meeting date, set up a meeting date with Tom / Patrick, so we can be updated on how everything is progressing in the building.
Okay, sounds good. I'll take care of it.
Okay, thanks. So may I have a motion to move to the consent agenda, please?
This is Joe, so moved.
This
Okay.
is Stephanie, I'll second.
Thank you, Stephanie. There's very little on here. Does anybody have any questions? Okay, Tom, when you're ready, please.
Claudia?
Yes.
Alan?
Yes.
John?
Yes.
Tracy Ellen?
Yes.
Doug?
Yes.
Barbara?
Yes.
Stephanie?
Yes.
Joe?
Yes.
And Al?
Yes. Okay, the first vote outside the consent agenda is Roman numeral 9, miscellaneous. It is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the second reading of the following policies. We have the 1000 series 1250 visitors, 3000 series 3510 operation and maintenance of plant, 3541.33 transportation and safety, 4000 series working from home, 5000 series 5141.2 illness, 5141.3 health examinations and immunizations, and the 6000 series 6173.1 remote learning. Does the public have any comments on any of these policies? Okay, may I have a motion?
I make a motion, Claudia.
Thank you, Claudia. Second?
I'll second it, Stephanie.
Okay. Does anybody on the board have any questions here?
I just want to thank Patrick for giving us the time to come back, look at these, do everything we were supposed to do. This was a lot of work, and we took a lot of time on these policies, so I appreciate the extra time in holding it to this meeting.
Okay, Claudia. Anybody else? Okay, Tom, when you're ready, please.
Yeah. Claudia,
Yes.
Alan,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Tracy Ellen,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Al.
Yes. The second vote is going to be Roman numeral 10, Finance and District Operation. It is recommended by the superintendent that all items from the executive agenda dated August 27th, 2020 be approved. Let me go over some of these items. We have a couple of salary adjustments and a couple of appointments as well. One I do want to bring to attention. It is recommended by the superintendent that the board approve the appointment of Tiffany Carrera as Supervisor of Professional Development and Special Projects, effective September 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021, at a salary of 108.5. And then a couple of other appointments, an assistant football coach and an instructional aide. So do I have a motion to bring this forward?
I'll make a motion, Stephanie.
I'll second Claudia.
Okay, Stephanie.
Next to each other.
Does anybody have any questions about any of this? These items? Okay, Tom, when you're ready, please.
Claudia,
Yes.
Alan,
Yeah.
John,
Yes.
Tracy Ellen,
Yes.
Doug,
Yes.
Barbara,
Yes.
Stephanie,
Yes.
Joe,
Yes.
and Al.
Yes, and I'd like to congratulate Tiffany, and hopefully you're going to hit the ground running on this one. Okay, any old business, new business? Anybody have anything? Okay, I'll open it up to public comments on any item. Anything from the public? Okay, may I make a motion to adjourn? Oh, somebody does? Sue Geringer?
Yes, I just want to ask, now that the vote has happened, when will the new schedules be available for students so that we have some idea of how the days are going to work, since it's a totally different format?
I will try to get them out tomorrow, Monday at the latest.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Okay, may I make a motion to adjourn?
Question.
Oh,
Siobhan?
Oh, yes. I just wanted to thank the Board of Ed and the administration of Riverdale. I know how difficult of a time this has been for education, and I truly appreciate all the hard work you've put into everything and the time you've given the community tonight.
thank you. Any other questions from the public? You have anything there, Mark? Okay, a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion, Stephanie.
Second?
Claudia.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.